1 in 6 Americans and 1 out of every 4 children start each day not knowing if they will have the food they need.
There are nearly 50 million hungry people who live in the United States, the richest country in the history of the world.
Local TV stations have started running public service announcements that tell people where to find food banks, even as the food banks don't have enough to meet the demand.
Hello, I'm Sydney Payne. You are watching a special Student Television Network presentation. 9 high school broadcast journalism programs from around the United States have collaborated on this special film project. Our topic is poverty. It may be hard to believe that although the United States is one of the richest countries in the world, nearly 47 million Americans live in poverty. 15 million American children go to bed hungry every night. Student Television Network investigates poverty in America and how it is affecting communities across this nation. We'll begin our program on the streets of Lake Charles, Louisiana.
Duke, I don't think he's tying his shoe.
It's 10 o'clock on a Wednesday night. 19-year-old Duke Threeho and his mother, Carol Cheney, spot a homeless man slumped over a bus stop.
Excuse me, sir.
You okay?
I'm just hungry.
You hungry? You want to eat?
Yes, I do.
Okay, look, we're going to pass back around then, okay?
All right, thank you.
This random encounter is part of the teenager's daily and often nightly routine.
Just go in the back and get him what you think he needs, and I'll go get him some more, all right?
Sounds good.
The man at the bus stop is Eddie Lawrence.
It's about you all stopping by and offering me this meal. It's a blessing, because I was hungry.
It's getting really cold out here. Yes, sir.
The 48-year-old is educated with a master's degree. He found himself homeless 8 months ago after a fallout with family members.
And it hurts because all I want to do is be a productive citizen, a productive worker, and a pastor, and take care of my children.
Every day, Duke and Carol load up their car with water, food, hygiene items, clothing, and blankets to give to the homeless in shelters or wandering the streets of Lake Charles. Some of the goods are donated, but often, Duke and Carol buy what's needed themselves.
Just a hot and ready sandwich. It usually comes with meaning that, we'll have to scrounge something up at home to cook, because then we can't go get as much groceries or stuff like that, which is fine, because we still have more than what these homeless people have.
Look, you didn't see the fire back here?
There is a fire.
Duke and Carol pull up to a bus stop, blocking a large group of people huddled around what turns out to be a portable heater. The group is hidden behind a row of bushes in an empty lot.
Bless his heart.
Monroe.
Next door to the empty lot,
See what he needs while we have stuff, okay?
All right.
Carol and Duke spot 43-year-old Monroe, a man they've helped before,
Hey, Monroe.
How you doing?
a man they've gotten to know.
We got some stuff. Want to come see what we got? We got some food.
Man, where you been? I always ask about you.
Look, we just keep missing you.
Monroe has also been homeless for 8 months.
What do you need, Monroe? We got razors,
Yeah,
soaps.
I need my tool. Man, I sure appreciate y'all when y'all come around, man.
No problem, Monroe.
Even though we're homeless and without, we have no roof and we walk around like we're lost, we're still human.
After a quick but happy reunion with Monroe, Carol and Duke head home to pick up more items for the large group in the empty lot. They return with a second delivery.
We have 10 fries and 20 burgers.
Oh, let her get it.
2 in the group are women. One of them is pregnant. 64-year-old George Chandler has been living on the streets for about a year and a half.
I got sick, lost my job, everything can't work, lost the place I was living.
He feels the homeless have been forgotten.
I think society kind of pushes it to a side and forgets about it.
So what inspires a teenager to go out and help the homeless every day? Well, Duke's always had a compassion for helping others. But when he was 18, he experienced something that would forever change his life. It all started when he bought a snow cone here, and a homeless man approached him asking for money.
It sort of touched me a lot deeper than I expected it to, and at that point, I just couldn't even eat the snow cone. The snow cone had represented sort of me just having too much and not giving enough.
That feeling fueled Duke with purpose and a passion to help the poor.
This means that somebody cares.
Yes, we'll have a pair. We'll bring them tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
It's something I would like to do for the rest of my life as much as I can, more than anything, because I feel like it's just my calling.
Duke Trejo, showing that even a teenager can be a warrior in the fight against poverty.
While students are tackling poverty on the streets, an organization in Southern California is helping alleviate hunger in San Diego's food-insecure communities. You may be surprised where this food is coming from.
I was just really kind of disgusted at the amount of waste and fruit that was falling in just the backyards that I passed by on walks.
Hunger exists as a worsening problem in the U.S. today. In 2014, 48.1 million Americans lived in food-insecure households. In San Diego, grassroots organizations like Crop Swap are working to help alleviate hunger by picking fresh fruits and donating their services to the San Diego Food Bank.
So Crop Swap is a gleaning program, and we essentially take excess fruit from orchards in San Diego County, and we deliver them to the food banks.
Gleaning is going through the crop and identifying the green and ripe fruit, and picking and choosing the ripe fruit off the tree.
So we've been partnering with Crop Swap for several months now.
I mean, the nice thing about Crop Swap is it's all volunteer work that we're doing, right? I mean, this is all volunteer labor coming out.
After they've done their pick and their volunteers have picked the food, we pick up the final product that they've harvested, and then it comes back here to the food bank and then is distributed.
The effects of food insecurity play a large role in the growth of poverty in the U.S. The struggles involved with hunger can lead individuals and families to face even greater financial, educational, and occupational dilemmas.
It's helping with hunger for sure, and I know that poverty has a lot of levels and a lot of reasons.
Hunger has a pretty big impact. Let's say you're looking at a child who's food insecure. They may have a hard time focusing at school, so they're not going to get good grades, they're not going to be able to graduate on time or at all, and that's something that we call the circle of poverty, because they're going to end up relying on a food bank again.
Crop Swap not only helps the people who receive the food, but it also allows volunteer pickers to directly see how their efforts are contributing to a greater cause.
We have so many people who want to pick, because as soon as a person goes out to an orchard and picks that first piece of fruit, there's something that's very, very grounding and connective with that act alone, no matter what happens after that. But going outdoors, picking fruit in a fragrant orchard, and then seeing the results of your labor, being able to fill up a bin, is something that a lot of people don't really get in their daily lives.
It's really nice to just be working with an organization that you get to come out and do the hard work of picking all the fruit, and you know it's going somewhere.
It is not so hard, it's just easy.
A fresh piece of fruit is definitely something that our clients like. It's something that's healthy.
The fact that we can provide that and it's coming from the backyards of other San Diegans is a pretty sweet little circle.
Food isn't going to waste. It's not going to be, rotting or just falling and being a nuisance. It's going to come back to the food bank and actually go onto people's plates.
It's really nice and rewarding to get the fruit off of those that have the overabundance and get it over to those that can really need access to that food.
Particularly the homeless people that we work with really appreciate it. I mean, it's nice for them because it's just a treat for them to get something fresh like that, because it's not like they can buy it real easily.
While Crop Swap has proved successful on a localized scale, founder Nita Gilson hopes to expand the organization to incorporate more community involvement.
We are trying to create awareness in San Diego County. The idea that we could, as a community, not only have a way for people to recover their food on a large scale, like recycling, maybe have bins, maybe have them know that a certain time a month or a year that we're going to come by and we're going to take their fruit. That's the big goal. It was just me and my car in a box, and now it's this really amazing idea that has changed my life, in that I'm completely excited every day and so dedicated to the idea of getting the whole county to have a food recovery program.
For the Student Television Network, I'm Haley Bantley.
From Southern California, we take you to the nation's capital. Military veterans facing homelessness are receiving the resources and housing opportunities needed to get them back on their feet.
When you think of Washington, D.C., you usually think of the beautiful monuments, the vibrant city life, and the politics on Capitol Hill. What you don't think about is the decades of rising homelessness rates, especially in veterans.
The hardest thing about that was adjusting. And to adjust, what I did is went back to what was comfortable for me, which was street life, not really a legal life. And those poor choices landed me in the world of homelessness.
So our permanent supportive housing program supports 95 people who were homeless here in the city.
Many new organizations like Housing First are taking a new approach to combating homelessness in veterans.
We help them look for apartments and move into apartments and stay stable in apartments so that they don't return to homelessness.
The biggest barrier to finding housing for veterans, in my opinion, would be not having the information. More people are out there in the streets and still are in the streets just because they don't know what's available to them.
So really, our services are that we go to people's homes, we visit them regularly, and help them with whatever they need that's going to help them stay in their apartment.
I was blessed in having people tell me exactly what I needed to do.
Instead of putting the homeless into rehabilitation programs first, they're being put into houses first, with rehab provided at every step of the process, so they feel comfortable in their new housing situation.
We have a whole continuum of services for people who come to the door here at SOM or in our programs, and those continuum of services include addiction recovery, mental and dental health, behavioral health treatment, and housing. Our goal is 1,000 units of housing here in DC.
Friendship Place is one of the Way Home campaign's partner organizations. It works to secure housing for people experiencing homelessness and to help them get their lives back on track.
I see our veterans as almost like a minority group because we've gone through this same similar situation. Each and every one of us went through boot camp. Whether they have seen combat or not, it's a lot of stress that a vet has to deal with, which lands a lot of us out here homeless because of principles we hold near and dear. Then there's pride, then there's opportunity and situation.
After nearly 2 decades of being on the streets, James has finally found a place to call home.
For me, the best part of this experience, up until right now, had been the day I actually moved into my apartment and actually slept in my own apartment.
The city of Santa Clarita, California recognized a homeless problem in their community that went unnoticed for too long. After opening food shelters and pantries across the city, the homeless are finally getting some much-needed aid.
Hollywood, California, a city where dreams come to life, where the imaginary and reality blur together, a place of sets and facades. And, just a bit north of Hollywood, is Awesome Town, also known as the city of Santa Clarita. In Santa Clarita, homes are often glamorous, but it is also a facade, much like Hollywood. Though Santa Clarita is a great place to live, it hides many aspects of its community. The facade of prosperity disguises how truly immense Santa Clarita's homeless population is. Though the majority of the public isn't aware of this problem, there are some who are aware and are taking action.
Initially, we had located this encampment about 3 weeks ago. We came down here this past Friday, posted a notice notifying everybody that 72 hours we'd be back, and we would be back to clean up and remove all the trash and debris that is left behind. Yes. We had service providers that spoke with all the individuals here, trying to get them hopefully to take their offer as far as the help that they were issuing. We arrived this morning, the individuals were leaving, and at this point we have the contract workers removing all the trash and debris that's been left behind, and it'll be discarded appropriately.
I work as an outreach person during the daytime. I go out and I find these people. I find them in the wash, I find them in the streets or wherever they're at. And you have to build a rapport with them. They don't want the services right away. But that's why you keep going back and you build a trust with them, and then eventually they do want the services because they've been told no so many times out there that when someone does offer them services, they're hesitant. Okay, I'm going to give you my card again because I want you to call me. All right? Because I'm going to try to get you into the TAPE program that we have at LA Family Housing.
Bridge to Home is a nonprofit corporation here in Santa Clarita with a mission of helping people experiencing homelessness throughout the valley.
we tried to figure out a place for the homeless shelter, and there were several locations where people did have a problem with it.
We started off with people who said there were no homeless in Santa Clarita, so you don't need a shelter, okay? And then we finally found a location, and people said, well, but that's too close to my backyard. So we just need the people in Santa Clarita to understand that there are homeless people here. We need to put together programs. We need to understand what their needs are and go about putting together a mechanism that we get them back into housing and back into jobs and get them off the street. Where we are tonight, we're at the Bridge to Home Emergency Winter Shelter. And at the winter shelter, as the name implies, we open up every winter. We have 42 cots for men, 14 cots for women. We welcome anybody who wants to come in to spend the night, get out of the rain, get out of the cold.
There's a warmer spot at the shelter for you if you want to go to the shelter.
It helps people get back on their feet. They have food and people get around and have a good time.
Last year we served over 15,000 breakfasts, lunches, and dinners, and it didn't cost us a penny. Every meal was brought in by a Boy Scout troop, a Girl Scout troop, a family, a church, a business, a group of friends, okay? And that's just the way Santa Clarita is.
Santa Clarita. Perhaps not entirely the carefree and wealthy suburb of Los Angeles that it presents itself to be. There's a facade of stability, prosperity, and contentment. An illusion much like that of a Hollywood set. However, the reality of the situation is that there are some good-natured citizens who are trying to turn this illusion into something more accessible to everyone. And that is truly awesome.
In the Midwestern state of Indiana, local volunteers, students and adults, are devoting their time and generosity to feed their hungry neighbors.
In a county of 267,618 people, poverty lines the streets. Roughly 17.7% of the population of St. Joseph County, Indiana, falls below the poverty line. Our community is doing its best to fight the battle against poverty, and efforts to win the war are found everywhere you look. One of the many awful side effects of poverty is hunger. Acquiring food can be difficult for the families who struggle for an income. In 2014, food stamp recipients in the county totaled over 40,000 people. That's roughly 15% of the population. Several organizations in our area are trying their best to ensure that families don't go unfed. The Food Bank of Northern Indiana is one of those organizations.
Well, this is the Food Bank of Northern Indiana. We are a warehouse, and we secure food that we then redistribute through member agencies throughout Northern Indiana.
In the December of 2015, the U.S. economy added 275,000 jobs. St. Joseph County is sharing in that growth. However, people are still hungry. Food Bank of Northern Indiana serves 1.3 million people in St. Joseph County and the 5 surrounding counties.
This area has a large amount of nonprofit organizations. That said, though, I think we have probably, I would rate our community against any others in their terms of generosity, because every time that we ask for people to donate food, they donate food, and they donate a lot of food. We have, I think about 2,500 volunteers who come throughout the year. And those are student groups, businesses, individuals who come in and help us. It's really critical to our operation, because if we didn't have volunteers, we would not be able to get our work done every day. The wonderful thing about young people volunteering is while they don't have a lot of money to give, they have their time, and they embrace a cause. So we have a lot of young people who really want to join us to fight hunger.
Here at Penn High School in Mishawaka, Indiana, 1 in 5 students is food insecure. That's roughly the equivalent to the entire senior class. Penn Jr. Stephen Schoen, who is touched by food insecurity himself, is fronting the idea of creating a food bank here at Penn.
We always plan to do something, and then it fades away. And it's not going to get any better if we don't fight for it. So I figure now is the time to put our foot in the door and expand and help solve this problem.
His idea is rolling forward, with food already starting to be collected.
Under the name of Kingsman Care, the group that Stephen has helped create has been working in conjunction with River Valley Church, which is right across the street from Penn. Penn's guidance department will work discreetly, one-on-one with students who are food insecure to make sure that they get the food that they need. The efforts of students like Stephen Schoen and organizations like the Food Bank of Northern Indiana are helping to put a dent in the massive number of adults and children in our community that don't know where their next meal is coming from. Together, the people in our community of all ages and of all different walks of life are tackling poverty one meal at a time.
While volunteers are helping feed the hungry in the Midwest, on the East Coast in Pennsylvania, student Meredith Fuller is leading efforts to provide chorus members with uniforms that they truly need.
Ooh, I love that one.
When Cedar Crest High School student Meredith Fuller was in 8th grade, she noticed the school's chorus dress code requirements were a burden for students who couldn't afford them.
Our chorus director, Mrs. Pierce, she wanted all the chorus to look uniform and look nice, so she wanted to try to transfer like colorful clothing into black and white so we look professional.
We spend, several months preparing for a concert, and we want them to have a really special night. So the attire is part of that when you're doing professional performances.
Although Cedar Crest is viewed as a suburban school attended by primarily middle-class families, 30% of students are registered to receive free or reduced lunch. It became apparent to Meredith that a change was needed in their music department after witnessing the effect of poverty on one of their chorus members.
So this one girl, she was wearing her father's dress pants and dress shirt because it was black and white, but instead of fitting in, she really stood out, and that was a moment that hit me that, wow, this is something that is really little that could be done to help, but it would really make a big difference.
Falcon Fashions was started as a resource for students to find nice dress clothing for concerts. Members of the community would donate their clothing for students to rent for performances such as band, orchestra, and chorus concerts.
We got a closet. It was just a supply closet. There were lots of random boxes and stuff with stained floor and cleaning supplies, and we took all that out. We got an old coat rack that we used for all the clothing, and we transformed it. We got a screen to make a fitting room, and then the next step was actually getting clothing, nice clothing. So we put it out to the community and the school. It was actually surprising to see how many people came forward and helped.
Now in its 4th year, the small closet is running out of room. Falcon Fashions has serviced around 40 students, including middle schoolers Ian and Nick, when buying dress clothing just wasn't in their budget.
At the time, I only had one pair of shoes, and they weren't really dress shoes, and money was really tight. Not only did I get to wear them for the chorus concerts, I also got to wear them for all the shows I did at the Lebanon Community Theater. That really helped because every show I had to wear dress shoes.
My dad lost his job, and since he didn't really have a job, we didn't have any money. I was able to get dress pants, and we didn't have to pay any kind of money whatsoever. I felt really relieved because then I could just sing with my friends and have a good time.
The clothing outlet has benefited students on a personal level as well. Meredith shared a story of a family who took advantage of the program after just moving to the United States.
Their parents were just ecstatic. They were talking about how difficult it was to transition into this new life, and then this just made it a little bit easier.
There was one student in particular I had that was a little bit lukewarm about being involved, and she went and got herself a dress for the concert, and I have never seen that girl smile so big. So that was a really neat experience and something Meredith did for that student.
I mean, it's just clothing. I mean, it's so superficial, but the meaning behind it, it's really more than that.
While many organizations focus their efforts on hunger, a school in Miami is taking a different approach. This school is offering art as a creative outlet for their students.
Art, to me, is a way you can express yourself. Art, to me, is a way you can send out a message without using verbal words. If I don't know, put a painting of people that are in poverty, and people of the higher class see that these people are in poverty, these people are suffering, these people are going through these problems, maybe I can try to do something to help them.
Poverty is one of the fastest growing problems in our nation. Over 30% of school-aged children in Miami lived in poverty as of 2013.
I don't think a lot of Americans know exactly how much and how
prevalent it is, and that we actually have third world poverty here in the US that needs to be addressed.
Art-based learning programs have been implemented to try and combat the issue and change lives.
When you have students that can come in and have tons of challenges at home, they're dealing with issues, basic, do I have enough food, do I have water, do I have a place to sleep? When students are dealing with that kind of thing, and then they come into a program that's giving them tools, giving them life tools, learning tools, professional development, personal development, communication, all of those tools positively enforce and help their lives. If you're a creative thinker and that you've been given creative thinking tools from the time you're a child, you are better capable to get yourself out of poverty.
Art allows students to take their mind out of the reality they face every day, proving to facilitate social skills, higher learning, and professional development for students who otherwise would never receive it.
Art is a form of expression, so anything that these kids are going through, they're going to talk about it through their art. And it's amazing how much people are not listening to them. When you can express, you go to art as your medium.
Some of the students that struggled, once they started discovering their talents, they had a reason to be in school. They had like a goal that they had in mind. So sometimes when they don't have anything that they feel attached to at school, there's really nothing that they can think like, oh, this is why I want to come to school every day. This is what I'm working for.
If there was, I want to say structure, but if there was more of a branching out of integrated arts, because I will literally tell you, art really saved my life.
With art in the kids' lives, they'll be painting a brighter future.
Just north of Miami, high school students in Plantation are working through a school club to support Feeding South Florida. Feeding South Florida is a local branch of the national organization, Feeding America.
There's absolutely a wealth gap in the United States, and it's very prevalent here in South Florida. You could see it from the immense yachts and beautiful homes down to some of the projects and lower income communities. There's a huge gap that exists here in South Florida, maybe one in the top 5, and that's not part of a top 5 list you want to be a part of. Feeding South Florida is a member food bank of Feeding America, one of over 200 food banks that serves 46 million individuals in the United States. Feeding South Florida serves 4 of the 67 counties in Florida, from Palm Beach, Broward, Miami-Dade, down to the Keys. I've been in food banking for over 15 years. When I first got into food banking, I realized that there was so many individuals who were going to bed hungry, children, working families, our senior population. And in a land that has so much, it's not right for families to not have enough food on their plate.
I am the president of the Feeding South Florida Club at American Heritage School. As a club, we meet every other Thursday to organize food drives at our school to benefit Feeding South Florida and to organize bake sales to fundraise for Feeding South Florida as well.
In the last 3 years, Feeding South Florida has been able to increase the amount of food that we distribute to our families as the need increases in our community. You see that across the country through other Feeding America food banks. We've also been able to increase the programming that we serve to our families with the help of the community. We get so much community support, not only in South Florida, but other food banks across the country to help us expand our programs to make sure that children have something to eat over the weekend, they have something to eat after school, and our older adults are not going hungry or having to ration their food over 2 or 3 days. So we've seen a huge impact with the programs and services that we've been able to provide, and you see that on the faces and on the smiles of the children that we serve every day.
I started this club because I noticed that there were a lot of food drives that are being held, but they were only being held around Thanksgiving and Christmas, and people in need of food need food all year round. They don't only need food around the holidays, so I felt that that was something that needed to be addressed, and hunger is a huge issue in our area. So I thought that that was important to try and help.
As with any other Feeding America food bank, we work with so many different food donors. We work with corporate food donors like ConAgra, Kellogg's, Kraft. We also work with local food donors in grocery stores. We work with Walmart, with Target, with Winn-Dixie, with Publix, with H-E-B. So many donors across the country. We also work with our farmers. Our farmers have been huge across the country in donating so much produce, healthy produce, to help our families eat healthier and be more nutritious.
I noticed the disparity between the affluent people in my community and the impoverished people in my community, and I felt that bridging this gap between two different income groups was something important and something that needed to be done.
Our mission statement can be broken down into 3 parts. First and foremost, it's to end hunger by providing immediate access to nutritious food. Second, it's leading hunger and poverty advocacy efforts, or giving a voice to families and individuals who ordinarily feel they wouldn't have a voice. And third is to transform lives through innovative programming and education. And that's helping families move from a place of dependency to one of self-sufficiency. No one wants to be in this situation. No one wants to be having to rely on someone else for food. They want to be able to earn a living to be able to buy food. They want to get food on their own terms when they can go, as opposed to having to go to a food pantry or a soup kitchen to get food. No one wants to be in that situation. So Feeding South Florida, we have the temporary solution, which has provided immediate access to nutritious food, that first part. But now that we have provided that first part, how can we continue with the rest? How can we provide you with the tools necessary to get on your own? And that's what we do. Feeding South Florida goes way beyond just providing a box of food or a meal to our families. We're about changing their lives, and that's where we have our slogan, changing lives one meal at a time.
It's food banks and organizations like Feeding America that are helping one immigrant family north of LA handle their struggles with poverty. The students from WRTV bring us Hunter's story.
When I was 11 years old, I immigrated to the United States because my mom thought it'd be better economy and government-wise, and she thought that we would have a better chance over here.
What is the best solution? Not for me, it's my kids. And we find the solution with my husband, the best for the kids if we can move in the United States.
When I got into 8th grade, my mom lost her job, and we ended up becoming homeless.
Írd meg neki, Alexandra, please.
With Hunter's mother unable to communicate, Hunter was forced to take on the role of adult in her family.
Yeah, she helping anytime, anything. So if we went to the government, we went to do maybe in a store.
I was always the translator, trying to get every word right and just make it as easy as possible for them. I had to go with my parents everywhere, to the bank, to new landlowners and other places like that. That was hard.
As money began running out, Hunter and her family began living in a Travelodge hotel.
We moved into a hotel and we stayed there for about 5 months. I think the hardest part was maintaining my grades. It was really tough to be in a room with 4 other people. Some nights we weren't able to afford going to the hotel, so we were renting a car during that time, and we were able to sleep in that at the hotel's parking lot that we were staying in. I stayed in there for about maybe a week tops.
If all that wasn't enough, Hunter's family then lost their car, their only means of transportation.
I'd have to wake up early in the morning, around like 5:30, and by 5:50 or 6 I'd have to get to the bus stop and then get on the bus, and it'd take me like an hour and a half to get to my school.
But Hunter maintained her hope, and she was rewarded.
So even during I was staying in the hotel, I was talking to my counselor, and she actually introduced me to an organization called Help the Children, who later on helped me with shelter, food, and even getting a car.
Help the Children is a non-profit organization, not only in Santa Clarita, but Bell, California, that helps families in need on a temporary basis for as long as they need us.
We invite our families to come in once a week and bring 8 to 10 empty shopping bags and fill them up.
You can always tell the people that are really in need because they are just so grateful.
Determined and optimistic, Hunter devotes herself to her studies.
Through the education that I have, I'll be able to achieve to have a career which I want. I'll be able to give back to the people who've given so much to me.
She is amazing. Sorry. So, I'm really proud. I love her.
Though times are tough, Hunter will never stop working to improve the lives of herself and her family. And with that attitude, she's already well on her way to achieving the American dream.
I'm very optimistic about the future, actually. Currently, I'm commuting from Fraser Park. And even though it's hard and I have to wake up early in the morning, it doesn't matter. I have my friends who are waiting for me at school and outside of school, and I do it for them, I do it for myself, education, my future, and I think I will survive this.
We would like to thank the students from the 9 STN affiliate schools who contributed to this program. While making this film, we learned that families are often forced to make the trade-off between buying food and handling other expenses. The number of children receiving reduced-rate lunches in the United States is steadily rising. There are no easy solutions for ending poverty in America. However, we hope that this program has shown that it is possible to make a difference, one community at a time. Thanks for watching.